Hello dear traders, welcome to the weekly review of Trading Hero portfolios. This week all portfolios made a profit, considering that we are recording this video on Sunday, so the results reflected on my FX book will not be shown as this week, so that's why I'll announce the monthly results and later we'll add the weekly results in subtitles. So let's start from the first portfolio. This is the 5K portfolio version 1. This month's profit is plus 1%. 5K portfolio version 2, this month's profit is 1.1%. 5K version 3, 0.4%. 10K version 1, 0.9%. 10K version 2, 0.6%. 10K version 3, 0.9%. 20K 0.6%, 50K 0.8%, 100K 0.7%, and 200K 0.8%. Let's switch to the MetaTrader platform and check all the currency pairs, starting from Australian dollar to the Canadian dollar. We are on an hourly time frame. With the gray rectangle I highlighted the previous trading week, and each vertical line separates one trading day. Speaking about the technical picture, we can see that we are in ongoing uptrend. We can see that it was broken several times, but still the price is going up, and we can see that local maximums as well as local minimums are rising. So it means that we are following a global trend, and considering the trades we've made, at the beginning of this week we closed all the trades opened from the previous week. These were the buying trades we were holding from the end of the previous week and that we gained on Monday's drop, and later we started gaining the selling positions that we partially closed on Friday. We still have some sell trades in the market and waiting for the correction. Let's switch to the daily time frame and check the global picture. As you can see, we are still in a global downtrend. Despite the fact that we have broken this trend line here, we can see that we still didn't overcome the previous local highs. So we cannot say that we are in an uptrend. No, we are still in a downtrend. Maybe this is a false break, who knows, we'll see it next week. So the basic scenario is to fall down, or at least to reach this rising support line that we can see started forming in April. Speaking about the results of this week, we earned $838. Let's switch to the next currency pair. This is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. As you can see, the entire week we were in a growing uptrend. Actually, we started to grow the previous week, and we can see that we have a lot of selling trades in the market. We didn't close any position because there were no corrections, and even if you check these kind of spikes during the overnight session shift, they are not tradable. So it means that we were unable neither to open nor to close any open trades. So that's why we don't have any profits this week. And speaking about the global picture, we can see that actually we are in a global consolidation. Of course, we may be searching for some kind of downtrends, then some kind of uptrends, but let's be honest, all these movements, they appeared inside of the global corridor. So if we speak about the range of several months this year, we can say that we have this downtrend here and also we have this rising uptrend here, but let's be honest, globally we're in the correction. So that's why this movement that actually broke the previous local highs, as for me, cannot be considered as a serious long-term uptrend, but considering that we are heading upwards, the next stop, I guess, we'll see on the levels of the beginning of April, and from these levels we're gonna start correcting. But also we have a chance that this kind of a break, it was a false break, and we'll return to the frames of this consolidation for the last 3 months, even at the beginning of the next week. But let's see, we still have the capacity to gain new positions, so let's wait for the beginning of the next week. The following currency pair is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. As you can see, we are in a consolidation as well. So if you check AUD/CAD, you'll see that we were growing. AUD/NZD, you can see that we were growing. But the original Australian dollar against the US dollar was actually standing still. Yeah, we covered some kind of 20% or 30% of the range of 2 previous weeks, but still we only tried to break through the local highs and didn't manage to do it, and the price was closed below the previous week's high. So we can see some kind of local movement. It actually helped us to gain and close several buying positions. We also closed a bunch of selling trades that we were holding for previous week and a half, and also made several selling trades with the total profit of almost $200. We can say that we ended this week quite successfully. On a global time frame, we can see that we are in a global uptrend. Here it's clearly visible, and there are no doubts that we can still continue moving in the frames of this trend. Let's switch to the next currency pair. This is euro against the British pound. So you can see that this week we almost reached the previous week's highs, but didn't manage to break them. We can say that the first part of the week we spent in this kind of a consolidation, and only by the end of this trading week we managed to break through it and move towards the previous local highs. Speaking about the trades we are holding, we still have a lot of selling trades from the previous week. This week's profit amounted to almost $70, and on a global picture we can see that we have this kind of a flat as well. We're in a global consolidation, so I suppose that if we'll not meet the resistance at this point, we're definitely gonna get the correction when we reach the previous local highs, because this level is quite a strong one. And at this point, the distance from our first position to the top will be around 3,000 pips and something, so it is completely enough to hold our trades and wait for the further correction. Let's move to the next currency pair. This is the British pound against the US dollar, and finally I can say that we have this clear downtrend on this local time frame, because if you remember last week I was really happy that we reached the new local high, but it was unsuccessful. It meant that we found some kind of a culmination of this moment. Then on the unemployment rate news we fell down, and on non-farm payrolls we actually also didn't rise higher than the previous support level. So we can say that this support became a resistance, and from it the market started falling down. So it's good because we still hold a couple of positions with one of our algorithms, and considering this situation I can say that we reached the level of 200% of equity dedicated to this algorithm. The previous week it was 3000%, then at the highest point we had almost 400%, and here was our stop loss. So finally we are moving towards better levels, and we can see that the distance from our current price to the take profit is better than from this current price to the stop loss. So now market is going into the direction we actually need to close all our trades with a profit, but we should not be very happy till we see this in the reality, because if you check the global time frame you'll see that we are still in an uptrend. So it means that this kind of process of this correction, it may still take a couple of weeks and maybe months. It's absolutely normal, because we need to break through this support level, and then we need to break through this support level, and here is our take profit, and we'll be able to close it with a profit. So let's wait for the beginning of the next week, and this week's profit amounted to $132, and we're looking forward to continue trading with the buying trades that we have from this week, as well as the selling trades that we are holding since April. Also, let's check the British pound on a monthly time frame, and as you can see, the forecast I made on the previous week really worked well, because we had these 5 growing months in a row. And if you remember, these kind of situations we had only twice in the history for the last 17 years. The first one was in 2009 after the crash of 2008, and the next one was in 2021. And in both scenarios we got the correction. In 2021 it was a local correction that we had like additional upward movement, and then we fell down, and in 2008 we started falling immediately after these 5 growing candles in a row appeared. So hopefully this time, this scenario and this pattern will repeat, and we're going to close all our selling trades with a profit. Let's move to the next currency pair. This is the British pound against the Canadian dollar. You can see that this downward movement continues. We broke through the previous week's lows. We also spent almost entire week in this kind of a consolidation, and only at the end of this week we moved to the previous local lows. We keep holding a couple of buying positions. The profit of this week is $35, and on a monthly time frame we can see that we also are bouncing from very high levels. Obviously we broke the highs of 2018 and we reached the prices of 2016, so it's more likely for the price to fall down to more average meanings, because we were in this global uptrend for quite a long time. So I think that the real case is to return to the borders of this kind of a global consolidation that may happen in a couple of months. Let's switch to the next currency pair. This is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Here you can also see that we are in a consolidation, so we have this small consolidation inside this big consolidation, so there is nothing to analyze. Actually, we have a couple of selling trades. We managed to close a couple of trades from the previous week. The profit is $109, and on a daily time frame we also can see that the downward movement actually slowed down, but we cannot definitely say that it was broken and we are going up. So still we consider this movement as a consolidation in frames of the global downtrend. And the last currency pair for today is the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. You can also see that the price was declining, despite the fact that there were attempts to move upward, but still we faced the same resistance that we met at the end of the previous week. And as for me, this is quite a good sign for the price to continue its downward move, because we had this support level that we bounced off a couple of times, then it became a resistance level, so we may see the price decline in the next week. In a global time frame we can see that we are still in a consolidation. Of course we may try to find this kind of a downtrend here, but let's be honest, we need to actually see the break through these levels, or at least to wait for the price to close lower than the previous price was closed. So we also hold a couple of trades from April, and we need the price to decline to close all these trades with a profit. So far, this is all news that I have. Thank you for your attention. I hope you also make profit trading with us. Let's wait for the correction on the British pound and the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar, and see you in the next video review.